Right, hello all, welcome to another episode of Risking It All. Today we are joined by serial entrepreneur Scott Smith, co-founder and owner of iSafe Homes and Lexcal Property. So Scott, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you, cheers for having us.
Good to have you here. So take us back to where it all started for Scotty. Tell us a bit about your childhood, where are you from, what was your upbringing like?
So I'm from Drumchapel, born, stayed there till I was about 10, 11, moved to Knightswood. But see, to be honest, pretty normal, pretty good. Just a lot of carry on, like a lot of football. Like it was good. You know what I mean? Loads of cousins just kicking about, getting up to no good. To be honest, aye.
Were you any good at football?
I was all right, to be fair, but just I was a bit short. so I heard, man. Still, that's what it said. But I was all right, but then just probably the same as 90% of boys for anywhere in Glasgow. It too much carry on, drinking. Fucking about. So aye, basically. So, but that was it, mate. Actually, everything was sound, mate. I enjoyed when I was younger. To be honest, liking it back to like this and business and that's not really anything I thought about when I was younger. No, some people are like, oh, for the minute I was born, I knew it. Like, obviously, daft things like done things at school, like selling things to people in school. Nothing illegal, but no, like like buying fags for the van and selling it to the first year. So usual stuff like that, but nothing crazy, but I had pretty decent upbringing, to be fair, pretty spot on.
And what was school life for you apart from punting fags running about?
Apart from punting Mayfair, aye mate, it was sound. I enjoyed it in terms of going to school. Like I loved being there because I was like, I can't believe I get to hang about with my pals all day. You know what I mean? I was like, this is brilliant. School itself was just a piss take, to be honest. I watched you talking about that. Like it was just a carry on. I didn't take it really serious at all. Primary school, but when I went into secondary school, I always think it's mad because they want you to know what you want to do when you're a child, mate. Aye. It's mad. Like what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I always was like, oh. I always thought that was mental. Even then, I was like, I don't know. I've not got a clue. Probably right up to I was about 27, 28. I didn't really know. You know what I mean? I kind of fell into a few things, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But so school was just merry I carry on. Soon as this, I remember I was younger. So my birthday's in March, so I started a year early. Aye. So I was always younger. And when I got to 5th year, I remember the head teachers like that. He's like, "You're too young for us to kick you out now." as soon as Christmas comes, you're out. But I managed to kind of talk him into letting us do the exams, just to keep my mum and dad that happy. But it was never bad. Like, you wouldn't go and fucking. It was just a carry on. I think I was maybe a nuisance. To be honest, the netting major. It was nothing. I wasn't setting fire at the school or anything, but it was just getting into. Just to take it serious, mate. Aye.
It's hard as you say. It's hard at that age to try to figure out, what you want to do and what's interesting to you. But obviously, getting kicked out of school. What was your sort of?
I talked my way into Stein and then kind of left as if it was my choice. Aye. So I went to Highland. I went to Highland. Aye. So it's in the West End and it's got a good reputation, and so you maybe had a wee pocket of a few boys for partaking in different areas that maybe weren't quite what you would associate with the West End and Highland. So you're surrounded. I've always felt I was surrounded by people that were like, go to be a lawyer. I mean, you're 12. You know what I mean? Or go to be a doctor. I always kind of remember thinking, fuck man, I don't know if I should have my head screwed on a bit more, or if maybe that's where the way to be. But it was good, mate. It was good school, to be fair.
I don't know whether some of that's like, so like when we think of even episode 1, when you were saying like, oh, my dad was an engineer, I went into mechanical engineering. I wonder whether like if you've got parents within your own environment, doctor, lawyer, engineer, it's almost easier to go, right, they've done well for themselves, I'll just do that. Whereas if your mum or dad, I guess, is warehouse, factory, taxi driver, like in inverted commas, normal job, it almost becomes harder to find your way because you think, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if that's my career as such.
I guess you can't picture yourself in that. You just see yourself in your parents and you go, that's what I'm going to do, rather than thinking I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, I think for from my point of view, my dad never said go and be an engineer. It was exactly as you said. It was, I don't have a clue. My dad was also someone just led by example. He never said anything really. He wasn't a man of many words. So I was just looking at him going, I'll give that a bash. But ultimately, I was fucking hopeless. So I think it's just it's a difficult one.
A product to the environment, so it depends.
Yeah.
But I think it can go two ways as well, because look, my parents weren't lawyers or doctors or anything like that. Good jobs, holidays, everything that came with that. But I always felt sometimes like maybe they wanted me to push to do something different for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I always remember my dad kind of forcing us to go and join the police, to go and get a career and a pension and all the. And I went through all the stuff and then pulled it, like, because I was like, I just couldn't get worse than being a police at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was like, no disrespect to him, it's a police, but I didn't want to do it. But I was doing it to try and kind of appease like my dad at the time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it can go the opposite way as well sometimes. Like, I've seen that where they maybe try and
push in
into maybe further education, or like because I ended up going to college after school and I knew I didn't want to go, and that just became an extension of the piss take for school. Aye. But it was because it seemed like a route to go into uni, and it was something that I thought, well, my mum and dad would be alright if I said I was doing something to go to uni. But see, when I look at it, I was like, I couldn't think it, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I just went. And it made things worse because I kind of was with people that are a lot older than us and just started drinking on a Monday and a Tuesday and then no doing anything. And I was like, well, it was a full year, it was some laugh. But
what did you study at college?
Oh, mate, some sports coaching or something. Some like sports coaching and sports psychology or something. But
must have been good if you can't even remember.
Mate, honestly, it was like even I haven't in the days you were like playing football and that, and you had to coach people. But even when I was doing that, I knew I was like, I can't see any sort of career in this.
That reminds me of, like, see, there used to be, like, when you got to 6th year, you could pick different classes in high school. I remember there was a PE performance class, and it was basically you just went in and played 5-a-side football a day. It was a piss take. It sounds like
it was a bit like that, mate. The more serious, don't get me wrong, I'm sure people for that often want to do well and have careers in it, but I was surrounded. I was 16. Obviously, because I had to leave school as soon as I was asked. So I was 16, and everybody was like 19, 20, and then there was a few like mid-20s. So I was just kind of out my depth a wee bit there as well. Do you know what I mean? I was just. And I knew I didn't want to be there, so it was just an extension of school, to be honest.
Yeah. See, just on that point, like, because we've heard that a couple of times already, like, you're 16, 17, even before that, 13, 14 in school are asking you, right, what's the end goal here? Would you want to be, so that we can start guiding your lessons and academic around, you know, taking in that direction? There's not many people, I think, that would disagree that would he know at 14, would he know at 13, but would he reckons the answer to that? Because ultimately there's only certain things that the school or college can do to try and help guide you. Like, would you reckons the answer, if the current way of working, if we're saying actually you're too young, you just don't know enough about life, like, what do they actually do then?
Mate,
I don't think there is an answer for it, because like you said, there will be people who grow up and, like, for 12-year-old, they're like, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, or whatever they want to be in their focus, so they pick their subjects towards that. But for us who were like, don't know what we're going to do, at that age I was wanting to be a dentist, didn't get the highest to date, so did chemical engineer, you know, and then was back at uni doing social sciences to please my mum and dad. You don't know what you want to do when you're that age, but you can't, the schools, and I don't think there's anything else you can do radically changing the education system. It's just, you need to go and pick subjects and do subjects. I would just do what you enjoy doing in school.
That's what I was going to say. See, unless you completely revamp the full thing, I'm not really sure that there's much that you can do, because I've got 2 daughters, right? And when they are 13, 14, there's no pressure at all on them to decide what they want to do, because I think when I was 19, 20, 21, I was still so immature that even then, you're kind of starting to be pushed into that at 13, 14. I think it's mental. Unless you, I don't even know how you would radically change it. Started school later, but taught life skills earlier, then went on to some form of more educational stuff. But
It's
It's
really
probably a bigger conversation around how you restructure
Yeah.
things at that level and why, because I've got opinion on it, like, but
it's really
hard,
difficult,
innit?
isn't it? Really difficult. I think
Aye.
what you're saying makes sense. I think when we look at us, like, we've probably all went the non-traditional route, having a go at something, no switching on, no applying ourselves, and then later on in life coming into it. I don't think that's the norm. I think it's probably no far off the sort of 50-50 from my experience, knowing people that have went to uni and seen it through, knowing people that haven't. But there's got to be something in there for the people like us that just get to that point and just can't apply themselves. I wonder what.
Well,
what
let's
can you
leave,
do?
let's leave it to the wonderful people in Parliament
Yes.
to figure out and we'll
Let's-
stick to Scotland's story for
Aye.
now, right? So you left school, nothing much was happening in school, bit of a class clown.
Mate, I get
like
free
me.
hires, to be fair.
That's not
I've been
bad.
2 seasons, mate, so
Aye.
that's managing to top my way into that last 6
Was
months.
one of them
what?
PE?
Aye, mate.
Aye, that doesn't count.
Yeah, being PE, man, definitely counts, mate.
It's one of my 2 hires.
No, no,
It's
mate.
one of my 2 hires.
I managed to sneak through the back. I don't even know if people don't like knowledge C's either, do they?
No.
But like, so I got a B in PE and I got a C's because the teachers liked us.
So you were then thrust into the workforce. What was job number 1?
Oh, mate. So I went, obviously I was at college, so sorry, I better get a job while I'm there. So I'll quickly skip through a few of these, right? But, mate, I might be in history the shortest ever McDonald's employee ever, mate, right? So I knew I was going to college and I was like, I need to get a job. And so I went and applied for McDonald's down at Clydebank, and I goes in, and I vaguely remember getting in and I'm in a room with people and I'm like, just feeling a bit like, oh, this isn't like school, not me. It's a bit more serious. And this again, no disrespect, like I know people that have known have like amazing careers in McDonald's, so it's nothing to do with the place, just where it was. And so my mother up to Zaf, Clydebank, she was going to get it messy, so I had good luck first shift in that. So I goes in and they gave me the wee hat and stuck his on a till, and then people I knew came in and they were all having a carry on and a joke and like, laughing at my hat and that. And now, like, looking back, you're 16, you care what everybody thinks about you. So I was like, nah, fuck this, man. So I took the hat off and I was like, mate, this isn't for me. And I walked to Asda and gave him the gear back, walked back, and my mum was getting served the messages. And she's like, what happened? I was like, I feel slagging my hat. So she's like, I can't believe this. So I get home. My dad's like, you need to phone and ask for your job back. So I'm not phoning and asking, but I done it. And the guy's like, mate, fucking bolt. You're in 15 minutes. And so then I done that. I kicked about a couple of jobs. I actually went for an interview in Farm Foods as well. And my dad made us wear a full suit. Like a full suit. I remember the boy who was interviewing us who was like 19 or something. And I walked in a game with full suits if I was going to a funeral, and he just went, mate, if you come with that, you're hired. So I was like, but I ended up kicking about different jobs. Mate, I worked in Iceland during the corner phase, worked in Summerfield. Again, all sound while I was at college. And then college didn't really work out. I remember the results came through. I didn't go to any of the exams or anything. Try to hide it from my mum and dad at the time. So I thought, well, let's say to them, because I've been there nearly 2 years. So I was like, I need to get a job. And I was serving, it was like my last week at Summerfield before I knew I had to find a job in the corner phase. And this woman who had served for years came in and chatting away to her. And she was wearing like is it G4 training down at South Street, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Like the kind of mechanical place. So I was like, what do you use doing that? And she's telling me, and she came in with this form, same day. Brilliant. I used to chat away at her all the time. She used to come in and get her message. So she came in with this form, and she's like, look, we're taking like kind of apprentices on. If you want to fill it in, I'll put in a word for you. So it had like panel beater, mechanic, all these things that I knew fucking nothing about. But I was like, I'll do this, man, apprenticeship. This sounds like a route to go. So I filled in a form, gave it to her, and she's like, you've got an interview. So I goes down, the guy's asking, I put car mechanic, and the guy's asking me all this stuff. Just blagged my way through it. So I love motors, desperate to learn. Like, fucking, I hate getting dirty. No, I mean, I despise. Like, and I was like, don't know why I thought it was a good idea. So I was a mechanic for a while. And doing up at Crow Road, it was a shambles, man. Like, just the guy they paired us up with was just a nightmare. The guy was about 60, hated us because I didn't. I was no interest. Just wanted to carry on again, still with that theme. And I think I lasted about 10 weeks, and I just kept going into Valet Motors because the boys at Valet cleaned them or some laugh. So the guys okay, I'll tell you quickly, right, I'll not go thing with this too much, but so the old boy was fixing a motor that they'd paired us up with. I don't know why this isn't funny, but or it was at the time. But I filled out a can of water, and no, they have the overalls and that, because he'd done things to us. No, back then it was alright to absolutely
wind you up.
just bully people, like make your life hell. So I was kind of knew again, this isn't really working out. So he was bending there fixing a motor, and I poured a fucking big can of water down the pockets of the overalls. He's bounced up and fucked his head off the motor. So I get pulled in. Well, that's his worst apprentice we've ever had. They're sacked. So I was like, right. So I walked in and I was playing Football Manager. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I knew my mum was coming in for work. So she came in expecting me. You worked at 5:30. So she came in. She's like, what's happening? I told her, and she's like, fucking obviously not great. 18-year-old by this point, and talking about. And then my mum then told me I had an interview for British Gas. She filled the form in online and said, until you figure out what you're going to do, you've got an interview here, which is also where I met you. But so I didn't even apply for that job, which turned out I was then there for 11 years, which was probably the best thing that could have happened to us, to be honest, because I had no clue what I was going to do. And then I turned up to the interview for that. Bear in mind, I'm 18, right? My mom's filled in the full thing. But at that point, they had a list of questions, like character and how you would respond. And guy Gary and Heather were interviewing us, and they're like, right, questions were fine, talked through it, no bother. I'm buzzing for this, passionate about British Gas, usual mechanic story. And they're like, right, we'll leave you for 10 minutes to think about the answers you gave to these questions. I'm like, fuck, I've not got a clue what I said. So I'm phoning my mom, like, what did you put for that? What did we say for this again? So basically, again, blagged my way into our job, probably expecting it to be another 6-month thing until I figured out what I was going to do, and then I was there for 11 years, which then led us on to iSafe and where we come to.
Just before we get into British Gas, I guess to kind of put a bow on the old, not even necessarily parents, but again, there's a running theme here, not just when talking to you, but in talking to everybody that we've spoke to so far about parent pleasing, folk just trying to, like, almost feeling pressured into certain situations, jobs, going to college, going to uni, no because they're dying to do it, just because they've got their parents' pressure on their back. Do you think that that's something that will die out with our generation, or do you think that's something that will just continue forever and a day? Because you hear it a lot, and it doesn't sound like
forever and a day.
A nice thing to go through an experience.
I think so. I think so. Because it's true, because you're so adamant that you're just doing it, like you're doing it to just try and appease your parents, but
whether it's pleasing them or keeping them off your case. I think young folk are the set geese peace. Do you know what I mean? My daughter's only 10, you already see her, she's like, give me peace. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk to you. And I think that's what it is. It's pleasing, but also just give my head peace. Teenagers are like that.
100%. Just I suppose it depends. Like, I know when Lexi and Callie are older, the only thing that I'll probably try and encourage them to be is to just do something and do it well. Like, I don't think I'll ever be overly concerned. I'd like to think, like, even now, Lexi will say to me, Dad, as soon as I'm old enough, I'm going to take care of your company. Do you know what I mean? So I can see, and she says things that I try and no push on her. But I'd like to, again, to product to the environment you're in. But I don't think, just because of that, I don't think I would ever be overly, like, I would like you to go into this or do that, or I would like you to come and work with me or do this. I would rather just do, like, whatever you do, just try and do it and do it well and be ambitious. But again, if they turn around and say they want to do this and I'm happy doing it, I think I'd be. But in answer to your question, I don't think it'll ever go away, no. Because you see it, you see it if you take your Wednesday gymnastics or football, or like, some of the parents are bonkers. And they like under 7s and like they're mental, like just the amount of pressure they put on them. But again, I suppose it can be a good thing as well, in the sense that to try and keep kicking them on. But the job thing, I don't think it'll ever go away.
I like when you look at like high performance athletes, it's rare actually that there's no been at least one parent that's been that controlling parent of, no, you're gone, the standards are here,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a hard time. I think all the great sports people,
100%.
it's often, my dad gave me a hard time. I watched the Beckham documentary recently, and he was always saying, you know, my dad was my
So I
biggest
try to find the balance, but on it, because
Aye.
driving a standard is, I think it's a good thing. But it's just whatever you do, just try and get to the best of that standard. Like, but I think there's a social acceptance around jobs as well. Like some people it's like they want to say, oh, I've been to uni, I've got a degree. Do you know what I mean? It's like, as opposed to, I'm working here, I'm doing well, I'm getting promoted through
experience.
Like, I know I had a wee bit in British Gas at the start. You know what I mean? Do you want to tell people you're on sales working? You kind of, and there was a wee bit of thing with it until you get old enough to really not care what MD thinks.
That a wee bit of stigma about saying I work in a call centre.
Aye, 100%. Aye,
agreed.
definitely. So if
Yeah.
somebody doesn't, if your pals are all going to uni and are all going into these degrees, maybe there's still a stigma attached, even just socially, but also with your parents try to please them if they see other people doing certain things. I don't think it's a bad thing to drive that, like, standard. Just do whatever you want, but like whatever makes you happy.
So you started in good old British Gas. Talk to us a bit about your 11-year stint in the gas board. How did you find it? Did you have your first cut? I'll maybe share my opinion through my own lens, having worked with you for a period in British Gas, but talk to us a bit about your time at PG.
Aye, mate. It was, see, to be honest, it was brilliant. It was, for the first time, I remember getting in for the interview in there, and you'll know, especially back at the start, it was mad, like it was mental. It seemed like it was mental. It wasn't really once you were in it, but no, there was a lot of big characters, wasn't there, in British Gas. A lot of people slagging each other and carry on, but also there was a lot of people that were mega driven to make money, and at that time the money was like fucking brilliant. Like I remember getting in and going, so I sit there, you want me to phone people, convince them to buy this, and they were paying us like 800 quid a week on top of your wage. So I'd went through all these wee jobs kicking about in Iceland and Summerfield part-time, apprentice mechanic, to then going in and they were paying us like $3,000 a month. You know what I mean? I couldn't. Aye. And I remember, and so as soon as I went in, I was like, this is a canter. This is brilliant. It's some laugh. It was like being back at school sometimes, although you're surrounded by adults, but you had a good laugh. Most of the folk were spot on, and you could make like ridiculous money at that time for when I was 18. So I went for literally having next to nothing to walking away with sometimes $3,000 a month.
Sort of money.
And then every so often they would go, here, you've won a PlayStation, there's a telly,
Incentives
there's
and British
holiday
Gas were
vouchers,
crazy.
and honestly I was like, this is incredible.
How long do you
I
think?
genuinely loved it.
How long do you think it took you to settle in? What reason I'm asking? I remember the first time I walked into British Gas, and I was probably about the same age as you. And I remember looking at the floor and see it was just that in Uddingston, it was that massive sort of floor, and I was like, fucking hell, like I'm terrified here. I don't even know if I can speak to MD.
Aye.
But for you, how long did it take you?
Mate, it was totally different because I started in City Park,
Right.
and just about the time when I should say when my mum applied for the job for us, just about that time when I went in, they had just started a new department, and Mark Wilson had come in, who I still keep in touch with and speak to this day, but he'd come in to set up this new kind of mini subdivision. So there was only 3 teams, and the attrition's quite high in them.
Yeah.
So you stand out if you're decent, you stand out, and you kind of then get away with being a wee bit of a pest. If you can sell, that's what I quite quickly was like, as long as I can put numbers up on that board, I can kind of get away with being a wee bit like having a bit of a carry on in here. So mate, I landed my feet because I've been to Uddingston obviously hundreds of times, and I think when you go into that environment, it was like fucking hell, man, and it was a lot more regimented. Don't get me wrong, near the end, City Park became a lot more like Uddingston in terms of the processes we're in, and there was a lot more structure and security, and not that there wasn't at the start, but because it was just getting set up, it became a bit like Uddingston. So I landed my feet. I was only 18, just in, was part of this new department, had good people run about us, so I didn't have that. No.
So you were quite an easy transition into it.
And it was sound, like I say, even at the time I didn't know I could sell, but I was in 8 days sitting on the phone and sell to people, but before that I'd never really thought about it.
Aye.
But I was like, well, I can talk for fucking Britain.
The culture that existed back then, in particular at the beginning of kind of City Park and just that like high sales environment, it would never be accepted in today's workforce. So the point that you raised there about, because I was good at selling, I used to get away with murder. That was really prevalent in British Gas, especially in sales divisions, you know, like City Park, where it wouldn't be that management would completely turn a blind eye. They would say, come on, Scott, fucking winding up. Do you know what I mean? But there was no like, I'm taking you to a disciplinary, or if you sold, you almost get away with it. If you were underperforming.
And I'm not going to jeopardise their figures.
It was almost, for me, it was almost like the school thing again. It was never anything that was that bad, because you did, people obviously get into bother on that, or took to disciplinary, but it was always just you get away with carry, or like that wee bit extra carry on, or you know, like being that wee bit late on a Saturday if you'd been out, because like that, you know, you would come in and outsell everybody that was run about you.
I think the difference between Uddingston and City Park at that period in time was Uddingston always had like corporate visitors up for down south, so there was always an element of like, you know, you need to follow the rules, you need to dress in a particular way, whereas when City Park first opened, man, it was
that like the Wild West?
it wasn't quite Wolf of Wall Street stuff, but it
far
probably
off
wasn't
at
far
time,
off,
honestly,
to be
man,
honest.
aye.
And in time, of course, just as those corporate visitors were coming up and going, oh, Glasgow's just along the road, I'll go and visit there while I'm up, it was like, right, actually we need to maybe tighten up on some of the craziness.
Look, 10 of them in a room.
And what was it you were selling in City Park?
Mate, when I first started, and again, this is what I couldn't believe at the time, people were phoning and their boiler was broke. Like, there was an element, and I went through time, I went and done loads of different things. But when I first started, people were phoning up and saying, my boiler's broke. So you basically had to send out an engineer and charge them, or try and sign them up to a contract, obviously you get paid more for that.
Aye.
But again, for the first job of that role, it wasn't like you were dialing 500 people a day and getting knockback after knockback. People were phoning up and saying, can you help me? Aye. So it was like easy transition into that, and then went on to do kind of the harder stuff and started progressing into training and management. But I always say this, mate, see, to be honest, see, everything that we've learned for iSafe, everything's came for there.
Yeah.
In the sense that obviously sometimes it gets a wee bit of a bad rep in the press, but in terms of working there, the people you worked with were like phenomenal. I think that kept a lot of people there. But also, I didn't realise till I left how much I had learned about customer service, the importance of doing what you say you're going to do, like customer journey and systems and all this stuff that you didn't think that really at the time you took for granted. And we've been able to kind of mirror bits of that and start to stack that for what we learned there.
Yeah, 100%, Scott. And obviously, having worked with you in the marketing side of things for coming up 2 years this year, mate. We've got a 2 year anniversary coming up. I can see that loud and clear. We're just working so close with you guys about no copying, because you've got your own culture and your own values, but there's definitely some things that shine through in customer service, treating people fairly, you know, all the above. And I no doubt British Gas has helped with that.
Oh, mate, 100%.
I was going to ask you as well, just to round off the sales episode, right? So you done sales at the start. Was it always sales throughout your 11 years, or was there any other areas you went into that you really enjoyed?
Near the end, I started. So, mate, I worked there, so I'll give you a wee quick 3 year, 18 to 21, just made as much money as I could. Like, couldn't believe that the money I was getting for what I was doing. Always thought, I can't believe people would moan about this. And then started getting asked to do a wee bit more, looking after a team and managing people. Yeah. And always kind of went, nah, that's not for me. And then thought, do you know what, I'll give it a go. And then, so for about 21, for the next, which that'd be about 8 years, I then just managed a team. So that was a team of 10 to 15 people, and I get huge sales, focus on that, teaching them how to sell. But then what came with that was managing 15 people, and like when somebody came in that had split up with their man and was greeting, and then somebody wanted to go home because their hamster had died, you know what I mean, and you're trying to hit this target and you've got people breathing down your neck, and then also trying to so for the other side. So again, it was class, because it taught me how to manage people, how then to report to key stakeholders and all this stuff. At the time, you took so much for granted. And then near the end, started getting a wee bit more responsibility in terms of like looking operationally. But in between that, I went and, again, following the money. I seen the heat and sales advisor job at British Gas. And I was talking to them and I was like, what? $100,000 a year? And I was looking at it going, I can make about 40 in here. No, like dame up and dame, which was good at the time, 21, 22, and 40 grand a year was class at the time you add in your bonus. So I jumped out for a year and done boiler sales face to face with customers, which I thought would have been a breeze again. I was like, this will be a canter. They took you in for training, 10 weeks PowerPoint. There's a central heating system. And then you go into somebody's house. I'll tell a very quick story, right, just quickly. The second job I ever had, so they give you all the equipment. You literally watch a PowerPoint for 10 weeks, and then you go, right, if you get this wrong, you can kill somebody. I mean, it's not that extreme. You've got installers installed. We weren't installing it, we were just selling it. But the installers were like ruthless. No, if you surveyed this job wrong, like, I used to laugh with Siobhan, my wife now, like, if the phone rang between 8 and half 8 in the morning, I'd be like, oh no, I've got a job getting in there, like, and I would be looking at the phone and you would answer it, and this installer who's been doing it for like 50 years, you've had a 10-week PowerPoint presentation, I'd be like, you fucking idiot, what have you done, you've put the flue here, right? And I'd be like, what? But then eventually I just started going, like, come on to fuck, and grew into it a wee bit. But the second job I ever got was in Linlithgow, and I've never seen anything like this still to this day. So I pulls up to this house and it was massive. No, this big, huge house. I sat outside it for a minute. I was like, right.
G yourself up.
Aye. They gave you ladders, no, right? So they gave you ladders, they gave you like a bump cap, they gave you like 2 bags, folders.
Just for show, you know.
Aye, right. So I did. I couldn't set the ladders up. But now, obviously, you know James who works for us, right? He's our sales manager, like phenomenal. I was trying to get him to come to iSafe for when we started. He's the most knowledgeable person about boilers I've ever met. Unbelievable salesman. So I got to know him through doing this. And he was like, geez, mate, you don't need to take everything into the house. Like, just go in with the bag, and if you need your ladders, nip out. So I'm struggling up this driveway, right? Range Rover and all these nice motors, trying to get into the house with the ladders and the bag and the hat and all that on. And the guy answers the door. So I was like, look, do you want to go and have a wee sit down, talk to me about how you use your heating, and then we can find a solution you can show. He's like, no, boiler's up here. No, like cold. So I'm like, right, okay. So I'm following him up the stairway with this gear, trying not to scare off his wallpaper and nice house. And he goes in and he opens the door to this like plant room. Looked like a commercial like plant room. And he was like, so this, and this, what do you think? And I was like, ah. So I'm kind of looking at him, right? And there was about a 20-second awkward silence. But they gave you these wee pens in British Gas. And it had like a light on it, like a wee torch pen thing. So I pulled it out. And I just started shining it in this room, right? So by this point, but again, you don't get many customers like this, but he was like here, and he had a notepad and a pen, and I could feel him. So I just started like tapping, like the pipes with this pen, and the guy just went, do you want to come back with an engineer? And I was like, aye, mate, that'd be ideal, mate. That'd do boost. So like, but see then, to be fair, see everything I learned then for that next year, I actually went on to do all right at it. Got into like the top 40 out of 385 in the UK again, just through then focusing on like people, conversations, and actually focusing on trying to understand the full workings of a full house. Because when I done that, I was getting in and going like, you kind of get found out. Do you know what I mean? Instead of getting in and going, listen, I'm not sure I'll phone, and just focusing actually back to selling. So it comes back to that selling.
Yeah.
But then my wife got pregnant, and I was doing like 200 mile a day. And that job, you're 7 in the morning to 9 at night, you come in, you've got an hour's paperwork. So I think I phoned Lisa, and I was like, Lisa, it must be a manager's job coming back up in the office. And just by chance, she's like, look, hold off for a couple of months, and you can apply. I applied, went back in, and went back into the office.
I interviewed you.
Did you, aye?
Into the office, aye.
Can you remember? It was good, aye?
I can remember.
Must have been all right.
Aye. And when I said earlier, I'll share things through my own lens. I felt like when you came back to the office after that job, that's when it was like, it felt like you were just taking yourself more seriously. Right, this is the next chapter in my career here, my actual career here. Maybe an element of knowing now that if your missus was pregnant, it's right, I need to knuckle down now, get back into the office and get myself sorted. But I remember your interview. Just everything you're talking about the now, and obviously having worked with you for a couple of years since we've left British Gas, you're a sales guy through and through. Do you know that way? There's obviously a lot more strings to your bows, or your bow now rather. But I was certainly sold. It didn't take too long to go.
I think a lot of people worry about saying that, but I like, because like we know you can't have a business if you don't sell. You need to be selling every day, and I think a lot of people are scared to put that out there sometimes and almost say they're a salesperson because of the connotations that comes with that. But as much as we sell, and we spoke about this earlier, like in iSafe in particular, like everything that comes off the back of that sale is how focused are we on doing it right, the customer journey. So, but you need to have that element of really wanting to sell, like sales and marketing. You can't really have a business if you don't have the two key pillars. But I mean, you're right, when I came back in, I thought I need to kind of screw the nut. And to be honest, I'd settled down, started having a family and thinking, right, I need to kick on. And probably did see if we never get made redundant, I don't know if I might still be there. Aye, mate, like I potentially would still be there.
Did you get made redundant rather than taking a voluntary?
Aye, so if I remember right, it kept coming up every 6 months to a year. And my wife, at the time, she wasn't my wife now, Siobhan, she worked in British Gas as well. So the two is, and she was a manager, I was a manager, so we were in the same redundancy like pool.
Aye.
So, and we'd just bought a house, and we're having a wee girl and that 6 months later. And I remember thinking like the two were in this same boat. I think, well, if it happens, it happens. It was never like, oh, I really hope this doesn't happen. And we managed to get through it. I think the first time, the second time, so twos were actually quite decent at our job. So managed to get through it, and then it came the third time, and it was almost like there's no real getting away from it now. They were restructuring so much. But the only pain in the arse was Siobhan was pregnant with her second daughter, and she missed the redundancy by about 10 days or something. I don't think you'd sign it off, man. Fucking so that put us in unbelievable difficulty. No, but like that was the only thing, and that's probably another thing that's helped shape the 4 years since we left, because Siobhan was pregnant, due to give birth in 6 weeks, and the twos get made redundant on the same day. So I remember like the twos get the letter, we actually finished up on the same day. And I think her hip was dislocated, so she was off, and I went home, but we officially were made redundant on that same day, and just sitting going, right, what we do now? We've got a 2-year-old firing about the twos of made redundant, and what we got redundancy was peanuts, like for 21-year service, because we started when we were young. So the way they worked it was, if you're 17 to 21, you get paid like a week's salary. So and then they kind of staggered it based on your age, which was like between us, we'd worked there for 21 years.
So is that a week's salary per year?
For the 5 years.
Oh, was it?
And then it went up to something, but it worked out like it wasn't a lot at all.
I think that was always the gripe of like folk that worked in sales in particular. So the trade-off when you work in sales and corporate is often lower salary, but you make it up in commission.
Aye.
But when you're getting made redundant, depending on where you work, but often your commission's not even a thing, it's just, it's your salary.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So you might have been earning 40k, but your salary could have been 20 odd, and it's your salary that determines your redundancy pay. So
So after your redundancy, were you straight into yourself into iSafe Homes, or how?
Aye, mate, so my business partner in iSafe now, the last like 4 weeks was just everybody kind of, it felt a bit frantic. Everybody was trying to figure out what they were trying to do. And I remember being relatively calm about it, in the sense that thinking, I'll get a job, even if it's not the next thing that, like, I've got a good enough CV now to go, and I've done enough in British Gas, bit more switched on now, like, I'll get a job. So, but I remember I was sitting and still managing a team and that, so still trying to kind of manage people that are panicking, but also be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Imran, who's my business partner in iSafe now, he walked past me, and I'm like, where are you going? And obviously that time you're trying to do anything to get away. Like, you know, you could go like that, listen, I've got 17 job interviews a day, I'll no be in. You know what I mean? And everybody was getting made redundant, so it was like, aye, good luck with all of them. So he came up to me and I was like, what's happening, where you going? He's like, I'm leaving early today. I'm going to see about this gas course. So I was like, so I walked up to Yvonne, my manager at the time, I says, listen, I'm going to see about this gas course, I want to be a gas engineer. First time I'd ever thought about it. I'd never even... It was just because he literally came up and says he was going to do it. So I was like, mate, I'll come with you. Get us out the office, for a bit. But then I sat for the next few hours and read about it. And I started looking for the when I'd done the heat and sales advisor. And I thought, well, how hard can it be to install boilers? You know what I mean? Like, I can sell them. I know.
That sounds like the car mechanic apprenticeship.
It's like that. Like, no, you can't learn to drive in a parked car. Let's just go and figure it. Like, so we went down, showed us about, and I think me and Imran started saying, baby, I think we could do this. Like, we could, if we started, why don't we do it together? We'll both qualify. At the start, we'll do the work, and then we'll grow it. And like, we know about sales, we know a wee bit about marketing, but we know we need to do marketing, and we know how to treat customers. So we started kind of building this in the car. I think we ended up going together, which is mad because we're going into our 4th year, and I always, if I never said where are you going, like, we probably wouldn't be here. It's mad, like we things like that. So we went down, done this course. The guy took us for about 18 grand or whatever it was.
Is it like a crash course?
We were there for a year, so I went and got a job while I'd done that, because I still had Siobhan and Lexi and now Callie. And Callie was just born. Or no, Callie was just, she was a couple of weeks away from being born. So started in this course on a Thursday night, Tuesday night, and every Saturday for a year. And worked at another logistics company as a account manager, just to have a salary. So I was going straight, I got the job there because it was in Paisley and the course was in Paisley. So it was just so I could go straight there on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So it was long because I had loads of studying in it. And to be honest, a few weeks in, I kind of realised, like, I don't think this installing boilers and fixing boilers isn't really for us, in terms of, I think we could build it differently. So me and Imran started actually talking. Our skill set doesn't lie, because he worked in British Gasways for 10 years, probably doesn't lie, and you realise quite quickly, this is you're dealing with people's lives here, do you know what I mean? Like, and I know it's about your boilers and gas, and you hear horror stories. So we probably knew quite early on into that course that we'll qualify because we need the credibility, we need the gas safe, and we've started, so we'll see it through at the end. We'll start a company, it means that we have the accreditation that we need. But we knew quite early on that we were going to structure it slightly different, in the sense of focus on customers, finding work, and then start building that up. So we started subbing work out. We built relationships with a couple of engineers and started subbing that out basically for day one, because the course was hard.
And see, just at that period where you had baby on the way, doing your gas course, doing a full-time job, try to be a good husband to Siobhan. Talk us through that and how challenging that was.
Mate, I look back at it now and we talk about it, like, it's one of the ones when you're doing it, you just make it work, but it was brutal. Like, it was brutal. And it was hard. It was hard on Siobhan as well, obviously, because she's in the house with a 2-year-old, a newborn. Callie was born quite early, was quite no well as well. And it was one of the ones you don't have the luxury of saying, well, I'll just leave it today, or I'll give you a hand. So I always think it was harder on her probably than it was me, because I'm out, trying doing things, and Siobhan's brand new, like, so sound. She's amazing in the sense that she knows, like, she never made me feel bad about doing it. But I mean, it was so difficult. It was tough, because even in that job as well, they were quite full on. And again, I knew this was a stopgap to get us to the next stage, but you were having to go in there and knock your pan in, but also, like you're saying, try and be present with your kids. And I find that difficult even now. Like, I find it so hard to manage that balance.
Mm-hmm. And see, looking back at that, so obviously thinking you'd been to college, you'd done different things which you hadn't seen through, and then you and Imran invested this money. Do you think there's anything in the fact that you'd paid all that money, and then you also had Imran to kind of help you through it.
Aye, mate, definitely. Obviously, because of the financial thing you've paid it, we wanted to see it through, but it was more, we could have went and done iSafe probably without that,
Yeah.
but it was more for the credibility of saying that, right, we, on
And you know
paper,
what
2
you're
years are
doing.
gas safe
Aye.
registered engineers, aye. So it was more that credibility, making sure that we seen it through to the end, but also you've paid for it, so we wanted to make the most of it. But it was ideal having somebody you knew doing it with you, and because we're on the same page, if he'd have been like, no, listen, I'm mega invested in going and being an engineer, we would have probably not got to this place. But the two is quite quick. Well, like, let's build a brand, let's focus on customers, let's take everything we've learned and try and kind of mould this company and just build it, which we've managed to do through the last few years.
So early days at iSafe then, you quite quickly decide that you're going to sub a lot of your work out to people that are really passionate and, focused on doing the right thing in terms of the safety standards, etc. How are you getting work initially? Is it just family, friends, and Facebook chats? Like, talk to us a bit about how you're actually getting the business off the ground.
So, mate, we set up an Instagram page, Facebook, usual social media stuff, and we always agreed, look, we'll not take, we both had other ways that we could have a bit of income, but like, we'll not take anything out for the first year, 2 year, however long it takes. Anything that we get in, we'll reinvest back in and start trying to do a bit of marketing. But initially, Imran had a wee outhouse down his back garden, so we used to meet in there twice a week. We'd be on the phone quite a lot, but Monday morning, and we would just sit and phone letting agents, like estate agents. We would just be dialing like constantly, posting on LinkedIn, messaging, putting stuff up, and then it just kind of like, we were laughing our day. We went back and looked at, we set targets out for the first week, and it was like 5 jobs. That was our target, to get 1 job a day. If we could just get that, and it was like 1 install a month. That was all that we wanted to get, and like I see that, but that stage is class because you're building it, and like if somebody phoned up for a service, we were like, fucking, this is it,
Exciting.
high-fiving each other, know what I mean? Like, you're not retiring on an 80 quid job, but but it was just, like, I remember we got our first install, and we subbed it out to the guy Imran had done his you go out and do your training with during that course. But I remember we got our first install, and because of the HSA, I kind of knew how to do the survey. But what a buzz, even just getting that, your first. And then now you kind of take it for granted a wee bit now because it's just like running a mill. But that, mate, it was literally just on the phone. Like, me and Imran still laugh. So he's got this wee outbuilding, right? Neighbour comes firing in. Imran's on the phone to this letting agent. You've got somebody else on hold here. I'm on the phone. We're just trying to phone people and sell and trying to get it out there and explain what we do. And the neighbours his neighbours came flying in, and she's like, her husband, she's like, he's collapsed. He's collapsed right now, they're partying. I'm like, fucking on the phone. And he's like shushing her. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is serious. And so he's came off the phone, he's like, you need to help me. And we had to go and help him. It's a shame, thankfully he's alright. He's sound, but he fallen, had a bad fall and collapsed. But that was it for the first 3 to 6 months, was just social media, posting, and just phoning and speaking to everybody. Also, I'd done a bit of property there by this point, so I was just going and speaking to as many people as I could, landlords and things like that.
See, at that point in time, when you're just getting off the ground, is there any challenges that you were facing, or was there any doubt in your mind that you thought, I might just need to go back to a proper 9-to-5 salaried career?
Probably almost every day. You know what it's like when you start. It's up, down, and then we might have went 3-4 days without anybody really contacting us. I think the hardest thing is, for me at the time, was getting up and knocking your pan in and no seeing any movement, or what you perceive to be movement. Nobody's really getting in touch with you. Maybe the things aren't coming out the meetings that I was setting up and going to, and people probably, I will definitely, this sounds good, let's start working together. And you're kind of You're looking at the flying, and then you're texting and they're reading it, and then you're like, aye, right. So, that I always found that difficult. And even still now, you still have like doubt quite a bit. Maybe not just as much, but there was never ever a thought of like, let's just pack this in.
Aye.
Like never, like genuinely. And I know it sound too like motivational entrepreneur. It was never, but we never ever thought, oh fuck this is hard. But hundreds of doubt in terms of will this work? How are we going to make this work?
And I think you mentioned about just being in the trenches. I think there's something about that. You and Imran on the phone, outbound dialing, just doing the do.
Aye, mate, that's it, innit?
Aye.
It's funny looking at it now, because obviously we've got a wee office now, we've got a decent team, we've got Matt, James, and we've got engineers and a decent kind of pool, and like we've won a wee award last year, heating service provider, so all these things. But when you go back, like when Imran sent me that picture, it was only the other day of look at the targets we set, and then you look at what you're doing now. Aye, it's funny when you first started like that.
I get that question a lot. Like probably the biggest challenge to overcome in our industry is how do you sign new clients? There's no secret sauce. It's just asking folk. It's literally just getting folk in a conversation somewhere and saying, can we work with you? Here's what we've done with other folk.
Sales, isn't it? Like
Aye.
you're selling your company now. You're selling yourself. You're selling your like what you can offer.
So talk to us a bit about you've got iSafe up and running. You're starting to get a bit of momentum. What was the tipping point? Can you remember a singular tipping point, or was it just a case of compounding everything that you were doing day over day over day?
The probably when like I remember, was it Christmas? So I had been saying to James, who you know is our salesman, I'd try to get him to come over for a while for British Gas. He'd worked here for 16 years. But I remember in the lead up to, we had said to him, right, next year, he was like, I'm sure my redundancy is going to come at this point. And I'd remember we were in like the May, and we were kind of building, and it was getting big, and we were finding it a lot more time and calls and stuff was coming in. And then we brought it, something happened in terms of, he was like, look, I'm getting made redundant next month. Can we sit down and have a chat? So we went and met him, had a chat, brought him on board. And then that next 6 months, he came in, we started doing more installs, the service and repair side went we started to get a lot more traction. We were working with a lot more letting agents and property management companies, but that Christmas, which would have been not that year, but the year before, like I just remember thinking, it's just went a bit mental. Like we were in to 12, like I had Lexi and Callie in the office, Imran had his Wayne's in the office, we had post-it notes where there was, it was just bedlam, but it was brilliant. It was an organised bedlam at that point, and that's when I remember sitting down and we were talking, going, right, let's really, really zone it, focus on structuring this in such a way now that we can, because we've got the traction. Because it's hard, like when you start, you can't just go and spend tens of thousands of pounds on systems and all and the processes and all this stuff. You don't have time to do all that. By that kind of 6 month period, bringing James in, we brought Matt in as well, all people we knew for British Gas, and we started building a proper team. But the lead up to that winter, that's when I first was like, fucking it, this is getting, this is what we thought it would be a few years ago.
And give us a sense of the scale now. So your target when you first started, job a day, install a month, where have you got to now?
Aye, so even last week we done about 140 jobs in week, and we done 13 installs in week. So I think last year in total we done about 240 boiler installs. If you include upgrade work, we were well over 300, so 309 kind of boiler install upgrade work, which when you think we wanted 12 when we started, if you average that out, it's mad. We've done like 2,500 jobs last year.
Massive growth.
Aye, so it went.
You said?
This is us getting into our 4th year, so it's went
growth.
Like the first year was probably a bit slower than, you know, we were busting our arse.
Aye.
But it's quite competitive. You know, there's quite a lot of people that do this same thing. Because I always get asked, and it might even come up here, like, what do we offer that's different? But in terms of a product, there's no really, it's...
A boiler's a boiler.
Aye, that's
Yeah.
it. So you're going to somebody and go, listen, we started a company last week. What do you think? Like, do you want us to start doing your work for you? And obviously there's more to that, but it took a while for people to start actually seeing that you had been about for a while and start recognising you. So then that second, kind of first into second, the next year after that, it just seemed to take off, and then we've been on a upward trend since.
So it's 4 years in iSafe, you've gone from strength to strength. Where do you see you going in the sort of medium to long term? What's your plans and ambitions?
So for us, it's in just growing what we've already got. So like I touched on earlier, so we've got a really, really good team. We need to add to that, continue natural organic growth in terms of what we do. This year's big for us is about looking at the renewable side.
Right.
We can't get away from it. So we've always had that kind of target year on year. First year was to just get the brand out there, build the company, start to build up a kind of service and repair database of existing customers. Then we were looking at how do we grow the install side of the business. Last year we looked at commercial. So we went in and started doing a lot of commercial work in the gas heating and plumbing side. And then this year for us really is about how do we take the next step into the renewable side whilst maintaining everything we've got, because you've got different pillars now. You've got iSafe. So we started with iSafe Gas. The reason it's iSafe Homes is because we set it up as iSafe Gas, but we always had this plan that naturally we might offer different services. But the Gas Safe Register phoned us up and we're like, can't have that name. You can't have safe and gas in the same name. So when you register a company, it's a big deal, innit? You're buzzing, you're like, buff man, like that. Like, you kind of look at it and you're like, we've set that up. And I remember sitting in Nando's and with Imran at the fort and we're jotting down names and we're like, yes, I don't really want it to do with their names. Nobody gives a fuck about their names. So then we came up with iSafe Gas and we were absolutely buzzing. And we registered it on, and then we got an email through saying, can't you have that? We'll sue you if you don't change it. And we're like, so we set up iSafe Homes, which naturally has been quite good because we always thought we'll have these different branches of iSafe. So we've got like iSafe Homes where we do like maintenance work and electrical work it's more for landlords, letting agents, property management. We do private work as well. Then you've got iSafe Commercial. We've done quite a lot of commercial work last year. We've got ongoing contract work. And you've got iSafe Gas, which is probably the main that kind of drives the full business. But there's always the next stages to make sure that we're keeping in line with the industry and making sure we don't get left behind. So that'll be the renewable side as we move into probably Q2 of this year and start to drive that forward.
And do you think on the renewables front that is there any first question, is there any particular bits of renewable technology you think is really going to take off? And then the second question is, do you think it will ever completely overtake the gas part of the business?
So in answer to your first question, for us, the main focus will be kind of air source, ground source, heat pump stuff. It's a natural progression. A lot of companies have made a transition into doing that brilliantly. In answer to the second question, now I can't see it. Now it's like, it almost reminds me of like when you've done the smart meter thing. Mind every house will have a smart meter by this point, and you've still got a huge percentage that don't. And I just don't think we're set up, like the grid isn't set up for everybody to transition over there now. It just couldn't work. Further down the line, who knows? But right now, I find it hard to see like the very, very what's the word? Like the targets that are in place. I find them, they're a wee bit
out,
and it keeps getting pushed down the line.
Yeah.
That's it's a wee bit maybe. It keeps getting pushed down the line. So for now, but I definitely think like there's a we need to be involved in it.
Yeah.
We can't do it. So that'll be a big focus for us. I don't think we've left it too late, but it was always a plan last year to focus in commercial, which we've done really, really well, and we'll continue to do that. So the plan, the answer to your question, is to continue growing these, try not to let these other pillars slip, whilst adding probably this final pillar that we've had in the kind of business plan and our thoughts for a while, because it's so easy, like when you start adding in all these other things, to forget
Lose
what your
focus.
core business is and what you've done. Like, I get asked quite a lot, what's your USP? And I was like, we genuinely, we don't have a USP in such that's anything crazy. Like, we deliver on what we say we're going to do. If we say we're going to be at a customer's house between 8 and 1 at this time, we'll be there. Like, if we say we give good advice and we genuinely try and provide a really, really good service, which you'll see if people go online. I had a guy the other day saying, no using these, your reviews are fake. And I was like to him, mate, I was like, we've literally busted us for 4 years to get these to this point. And I was like, I'm not saying things haven't went wrong, but on the odd occasion where we've let somebody down, I was like, we have done everything that we can to fix it, which most people still get good reviews after that. Like,
that's my core thing in my business is, see when you fuck up, it's not a fuck up, that's a chance for you to do doubly better. Because if you fuck up something and you fix it, it's 10 times better for the customer's point of view than you actually just doing it right. And I believe that, do you know what I mean?
$1,000,000%, aye.
And in my industry, that does happen, you know.
Aye.
Definitely happens in the marketing game, that's for sure. I'm sure
I know, I've got a bad review to leave. I'm like, I know, and see, to be fair, to be used as well, user played a pivotal part in that growth, because around about that time we had jumped between marketing companies and we had kind of had a bit of success here, but nothing really that was consistent. So to be fair to you, when we first started, and since you've come in as well, Brian, like, that's played a huge part in our growth. It's having like a consistent marketing approach, which you have done class. So
Keep going.
Thank you.
Keep going.
It's been an absolute pleasure,
20
mate.
quid.
And I think probably just to round it off then is, mate, it's been a pleasure working with you, having you on the podcast. Really excited to see where the future goes, and we're looking forward to supporting you along the road.
Thank you. Cheers for having us.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming in.
Cheers for
Scott.
coming, Scott.
Cheers, lads.